What up, everybody? It's good to have you here on a Tuesday morning. You are watching The Sweat. I am Emerson. She is Jessie. We have a smorgasbord of DFS and sports betting content coming your way. Yes, smorgasbord. Big word.
Big word. SAT word. MLB Sportsbook picks, the return of the PGA Tour with the Fortinet Championship preview, and an early look at Week 2 spreads in the NFL. And speaking of the NFL, another weekend, another Millionaire Contest on DraftKings. So for the main slate on Sunday, our featured contest has a $4.5 million prize pool with a top prize of, you guessed it, $1 million. Draft your lineup and take a shot at becoming a millionaire in Week 2. The winner also receives a ticket to our DraftKings Tournament of Champions Live Final, which goes down in January, and is your opportunity to take another shot at $1 million. All right, this contest is available in the DK lobby right now, so get to drafting.
All right, let's go ahead and take a gander at some of the Week 2 salaries for that thick and juicy Millie Maker. Good morning to our two-man panel. DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich and the birthday boy, Kenny Ducey. Kenny, what has been the highlight of your birthday so far?
Having a cup of coffee and walking my dog. That was the highlight so far. This is about to be the highlight. How about that?
Very dark. Very dark.
What
very dark so far, Kenny. Do you have plans tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to play golf in a little bit. I got a big day planned.
Okay,
awesome,
cool,
man.
Cool.
Sounds good. Well, let's put you to work while you're here. Price checking. So who's your favorite play at the following positions? Deuce, quarterback. Who's your dude?
My dude is Ryan Tannehill. Look, I'm not a believer in this Seattle secondary. I've made that clear. They were terrible last year. And in Week 1, they made Carson Wentz look all right. He had 251 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 102 passer rating. He completed 6% of his passes. He did a good job against this team. And when you look at Ryan Tannehill, yes, the 3 turnovers last week were very concerning, but I'm willing to buy a turnaround on Ryan Tannehill. Arizona's defense, not that bad. And when you look at Ryan Tannehill, he did throw 35 times in that game. He had a decent completion percentage. I think that this is a talented quarterback. He showed the ability to run. He ran for a touchdown. I'm a believer in this Titans offense, and I really think that they're going to absolutely go wild against this Seattle secondary in a very high scoring.
Oh no, that
Really?
birthday internet connection.
Really?
Oy.
Maybe you should ask for new internet on your birthday, buddy.
I'm here.
All right. Pierce, what
I'm
do you
here.
got? Yeah, I know you're
But
back
you
now.
weren't.
This is the worst birthday for you ever.
Did you hear that I like Ryan Tannehill? Okay.
Yeah, we heard that part.
We did hear that
Pierce,
part.
let's hear what you have to say.
I'm going to play it much safer with Kyler Murray. If you've got the money, go ahead and spend up again for him this week. He's not going to let us down. When he was healthy last season, he was an absolute monster, and we've already seen what he can do in Week 1. The game is built around him. The game script, and his game script is built for DFS. We saw him get a naked bootleg call for a touchdown. No one else is getting that call. We saw him scramble around in the red zone until he found DeAndre Hopkins. Not very many other people can do that. We saw him zigzag all the way across the field back and forth to move the chains. They scored 38 points and didn't even have to play the fourth quarter. Hopefully this game's close, and so he plays all fourth quarters. Also, if this game goes 4 quarters and is close, we're going to see a little bit more of him on the ground. I know Kyler Murray doesn't want to run this year, but he wants to win. And for a guy that says he doesn't want to run, he ran awfully a lot in a game where they blew out Tennessee. I would not be surprised to see them score 40 points and him put up 40 fantasy points this weekend.
All right, let's talk running backs. Pierce, who are you going to be rostering?
I'll take Alvin Kamara. Again, if you could spend up, you take the safe guy. He got 18 points last weekend, and they really didn't even need him that much. He didn't play much in the fourth quarter. They didn't need to use him out of the backfield receiving. He's going to face a Carolina team that struggled against the run over the last couple seasons. So the Saints are going to move the ball. I know Jameis Winston's a slight downgrade, but that's fine. That means more for Kamara. They'll move it against Carolina. The question is, will Carolina show up, unlike Green Bay? And it looks like Carolina will be able to score some points. If this game stays close, Kamara should be able to have a really big game.
Kenny, who are you going with at running back? You are muted.
Oh my gosh, what's happening?
Did you mute yourself?
We all can't have shirt and ties and have money to spend up at every single position. So I'll give you another value play here that I really, really like. I think he's too cheap, and it's Myles Gaskin at $5,900 against Buffalo. Yes, Buffalo did allow the fewest fantasy points to a running back in Week 1, but Pittsburgh didn't show the willingness to run. They also had a rookie running back, and we know that Pittsburgh loves to throw the football, and that they did. When you look at the Buffalo rushing defense last year, it was just not very good. They did not add a lot to the run stopping attack. They did add some pass rushing ability, but I think that Myles Gaskin's a guy, look at it, 5 targets in the passing game. He did lead the backfield with 9 carries. I know it's not a ton, but I think against Buffalo, the game plan over the last 2 years has been pretty consistent. You want to run the football, and Myles Gaskin's the guy, 3rd best running back in week 1, according to Pro Football Focus. He graded out as the 3rd best runner. I think that he will get some opportunities here. I think he has some success against a weak Buffalo run defense. I think at $5,900 is a little too cheap.
Kenny, wide receiver. Take me there. Who is your dude?
Yeah, I do want to spend a little money here. I think that people forgot Dak Prescott was good. A lot of shocked faces in week 1 when he almost beat the Buccaneers on the road. He looked great. Another guy that looked great coming off an injury was Amari Cooper. At $6,800, this guy had the 2nd most targets in football last week at 16, and boy, did he look good, hauling in 13 of them, went for the 2 touchdowns. He looked explosive, and he reminded us that he is the lead receiver in that offense. He's going to get a ton of targets. CeeDee Lamb dropped a lot of passes, was not reliable. I think that Dak Prescott might even look to Cooper more, but I think it was very evident that they wanted to throw the football against a good a bad secondary and a good rushing defense. I think you got the same exact thing with the Chargers, a bad defense that the Cowboys should gash here. And I think Cooper leads the way. And again, I don't think that the algorithm has correctly adjusted yet to how good Amari Cooper looked. And when this guy is healthy, he is one of the best fantasy options in football as long as this offense has Dak Prescott at the helm. And I think that's what we're going to see this year. So another big week is in store for Amari Cooper. I am maybe overreacting to the 16 targets, but I love paying the money for him.
Pierce, who do you think is in line for a big week 2 at wide receiver?
Let's stay in that game, and this is where you'll get the savings so you can pay up for the receiver, running back, or quarterback that you want. Cedric Wilson, $3,100. Kenny laid out all the reasons why Dallas should play well in this game, and not to mention their defense is not very good. It forces them into tons of shootouts. We saw it at the beginning of last season when Dak was healthy. They were constantly in shootouts. 400 yards passing last week against Tampa. And we've got Cedric Wilson filling in for Michael Gallup last week when he came in. 3 targets, 3 catches, 24 yards in about half of a game. If you look at what Gallup did, he had 7 targets while he played. He's basically going to slot into that wide receiver role and play around 80 to 90% of the snaps. So if this shoots out like every Dallas game, 3,100, you're going to get 80 to 90% snaps from a Dallas team that loves to pass. He seems like a smash play. I will not be surprised if Cedric Wilson's not one of the most talked about guys this weekend.
All right, let's talk tight ends. Pierce, who do you like to have a big week 2?
Noah Fant, 4,200. Jerry Jeudy is out. That means Fant should see a little bit more action. We know Teddy Bridgewater is a game manager, likes to check down, throw to his tight ends. That bumps Fant up as well. Fant led the team in red zone targets last season, and he's already got 2 red zone targets to start this season. Oh, by the way, they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is really cheap. I love Noah Fant.
All right, Kenny, who do you like at the tight end position?
Yeah, I like Tyler Higbee. This Rams offense is absolutely cooking right now. Higbee was on the field for every offensive snap. He did have 6 targets and 68 yards here, and I think that there is a potential for a bigger game here because Indy, I was really high on Indy's defense last year. I know a lot of people said, hey, maybe they're not as good as their numbers indicate, and we saw that in week 1. They looked really bad last week. I think that there is an opportunity for Matt Stafford to go off again. I think Tyler Higbee is the guy that you want in your lineup. He's going to save you a little bit of money at $4,100 in a pretty good spot against Indy, coming off a game where he was heavily used. I think that is where you want to look.
All right, guys, let's wrap this thing up with your slate-approved picks. So your favorite play for week 2, Kenny.
Yeah, it's going to be Russell Wilson at $7,500. I know that there's other quarterbacks on the board that I like cheaper, like Ryan Tannehill. But when you look at the job that this Tennessee defense did last year and last week, it was really bad. They're not a good unit. So I think that the Seattle Seahawks showed us that they still have that elite offense. Russell Wilson was running the football very, very well last year. I think that he gets into the end zone for a touchdown in this game. And I love the volume that you're getting here. And his wide receiving core, by the way, looks fantastic. Tyler Lockett with some amazing catches. DK Metcalf finally out of his slumber. I think that the Seattle Seahawks are in for a very big day offensively.
Did you see his wife turn Wilson's jersey into a dress at the Met Gala?
At the Met Gala, yeah.
That was really
Ciara,
impressive
she was
stuff.
looking fresh.
And
she had a Super Bowl ring on too.
Did she?
Yeah.
And she had a football purse, a mini football purse, which really tied the outfit together. Pierce, slate approved pick, week 2.
Dak Prescott, as Kenny mentioned, the price is wrong. You're paying under $7,000 for a guy that might get 60 pass attempts. Just go ahead and stack the Chargers, stack the Cowboys. We're done. No, we don't need to do any more videos this week. Cancel all the articles. That's it. That's all the plays. Chargers, Cowboys. See you guys for week 3.
All right, cool.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a great birthday, Kenny. We're going to hit on NFL spreads coming up. But for now, DraftKings Director of Race and Sportsbook Operations, Johnny Avello, is going to take a look back at week 1 on the Unreasonable Odds podcast with Julian Edlow. Take a look.
One of the more popular things in the NFL now is whatever, money line parlays, 6-point teasers with those teams floating right around a touchdown favorite. And there were really 5 teams, I think, coming into week 1 that were super popular to do that with. The Niners and the Bucks, teams that we saw that number blow up and get up to 9.5 at times and kind of protect the books almost on those teasers to get up to 3.5 on the 6-point teases. And then you had the Rams that came through, won by 20. The Chiefs won, didn't cover. And then the Bills were the one to do it to us, the team that lost outright. These teams obviously went 4-1. The Bills, the 6.5-point home favorite that went down. How did DraftKings Sportsbook do with those teams in terms of teasers, money line parlays, and how much did the Bills' outright loss kind of help DraftKings Sportsbook there?
Well, the money line parlays and teasers were solid winners for the players that used those winning combinations. But you had to lay a pretty stiff juice, So our results, they weren't so awful for us. Now, the Bills game you mentioned didn't help us at DK. We were loaded with Steelers money line at prices ranging from -280 to +230, and that's where we closed. So you could see a significant move there, showing that we did take quite a bit of money on the money line.
Wow. All right. So there's, underdogs heading into Monday Night Football, 11-4 against the spread and 8-7 outright. So some money line tickets definitely cashing on those underdogs. So this is kind of a week 1 specific question for me, but like we have these numbers hanging on the board for 4 months. It's unlike any other week in NFL. How, and this is more of a historical question, I guess, how much do you see those numbers actually come into play? And I think the perfect example here was that Niners-Lions game and that ridiculous backdoor on the closing number, at least with the Lions. San Francisco was my best bet for week 1, but I gave it out back in like May and was telling everybody to get the 7.5, and then it's 38-10. Doesn't look like it's going to matter. It absolutely mattered in the end. How much do you see that type of stuff happening in week 1?
Yeah, it certainly happened on 2 of those games. And sometimes early wagering is best if you're looking at the favorite. If you're looking at the underdog, waiting may be the optimum strategy. Now, Julian, no one has the crystal ball to know exactly where the line is going. We can only speculate. But, I would stay with those 2 types of strategies.
All right. So here's a game that there was some red flags there. I dove in head first. I wish I hadn't. The spread with the largest handle on DK Sportsbook, the last time I took a look at the splits on Sunday, was Green Bay with 92% of the handle. This is a game, the number was 3 when this was supposed to be in the Superdome. Moves to a neutral location, becomes 4, gets up to maybe 4.5, and then comes back down to 3.5, despite all this money on the Packers. What did odds makers see that made you hold so strong on that number with all, even potentially some of that reverse line movement, even with all that money coming in on Green Bay?
Well, we actually opened up the Packers 2.5, and we would have most likely got pushed to 3 on that game, even if there was no change in venue. But there were a couple factors to consider, when the site change was announced. Firstly, the team's power ratings weren't that far apart. When you looked at them, they were only a few, and this is week 1 heading into the season.
Right.
Secondly, we didn't initially know where the change was going to be. The Saints were practicing at AT&T in Dallas, so that seemed like the viable option. And then the NFL and the teams decided on Jacksonville, which is more home to the Saints than the Packers. One other consideration in that game, why that game came down, is after the handicappers looked at it, they realized that the Packer offensive line was kind of a mess in that game. And so I think that's where maybe the late push came in.
We are back, and as promised, we got a trio of baseball dudes here with us to take a sportsbook look at today's MLB slate. Say hello to DraftKings contributors Nick Fryer, Gary Thorne, and RotoWire's Eric Halterman. Fellas.
Hello, everybody. Hello, fellas.
Yeah.
It is time to cover the bases, so you're going to hit us with your favorite DK Sportsbook plays in the following categories. Let's start with first base. Duh. Nick, give me a run line or money line bet you are liking tonight.
I went back and forth on a couple tonight, but I ended up landing on the Blue Jays run line going up against the Rays. Obviously, the Blue Jays have been red hot recently. You look at last night, they scored 9 runs against the Rays. There was 8. And then in the games before that, 22, obviously ridiculous, 11. And then in that Yankee series, too, they scored 6 runs 3 times, 5 runs the time before that. So they've been rolling offensively. They're one of the toughest lineups on right-handed pitching. So you're going up against the righty tonight. Of course, I want to back them in some capacity. Now, the Rays have been tough on right-handed pitching this season, but not so much of late. And Jose Barrios has seemed to find his form for the Blue Jays. He's had 3 quality starts in his last 3 starts. All of those have resulted in wins. 2 of them have been by 2+ runs. So I feel like right now, if you're just turning out quality starts, you're going to be fine. You're going to get a win if you're pitching with the Blue Jays backing you. So I'm going run line with them tonight.
Gary, and run line or money line bet you like tonight?
I'm going to take the Athletics on the money line at -170. Obviously, if you want more juice here, I don't hate them on the run line either. But I do think that Oakland should just have much steeper odds tonight. I'm a little surprised this wasn't -200 or -210, if I'm being honest, because Frankie Montas has been one of the best pitchers in baseball across the past 2 months. His last 11 starts, 2.18 ERA, 2.35 FIP, and a 32% strikeout rate. Jackson Kowar is a relatively big prospect in the Royals system, but he has not looked good at the major league level in his 5 appearances so far this season. And the Royals as a team, just an 85 WRC plus so far in the month of September. So I don't know if the Royals could score runs off of anyone, particularly Montas, who's been in some of the best form of his entire career. So I will back Oakland in essentially whatever capacity you want to back Oakland in.
Eric, 12 games on the main slate. Which money line bets or run line bet are you targeting?
Yeah, let's talk about one of the most exciting games featuring 2 teams that everybody's following very closely at this point of the year, which is the Marlins and the Nationals. I'm going to take the Marlins at +125 here. Both lineups aren't very good. I guess you'd say the Nationals lineup is better because they have a Juan Soto in it. But the rest of the players hitting for both sides aren't all that special at this point in the season. And I think I'll take Jesus Luzardo over Eric Fedde, at least enough that +125 looks quite good on the Marlins side. Luzardo was really bad for most of the season, but until through his last 3 starts, though, he's actually turned things around quite nicely. 2.60 ERA over that stretch. He's got his strikeout rate up to 27.5%. Before those 3 starts, he had a 7.91 ERA and a 20.9% strikeout rate. So I didn't necessarily buy it after just one of those, but this is a talented young pitcher. Now that he's had 3 straight good starts, I'm willing to buy back in at least somewhat. And Eric Fedde on the other side is really just nothing special. 5.31 ERA on the season, 8.16 over his last 3 starts. So it doesn't take all that much for Luzardo to be the more appealing arm tonight.
All right, then we got second base. So which game total are you eyeing today, Garion?
So I was looking at White Sox Angels, which is sitting at 8 right now. However, instead of taking the game total, I would probably just take the White Sox team total, which is at 4.5, because if there's a reason that this game doesn't go over, it's that the Angels have had one of the most anemic offenses in baseball the past 2 weeks. They just cannot hit. Shohei Ohtani has not been hitting lately, and if he's not hitting, there's no one else in that lineup to do any damage. The White Sox, on the other hand, yes, they just put Andrew Vaughn on the IL like 15 minutes ago. That's a little discouraging considering they're facing a lefty in Naughton tonight who has a 4.65 xFIP so far in his brief MLB career. But they're getting Tim Anderson back, who also historically has crushed left-handed pitching. They've actually got 3 guys who should be in their lineup tonight. Yasmani Grandal being one of them, Jose Abreu being another, and then Luis Robert, who have a better than 150 WRC plus against left-handed pitching so far this season. The White Sox basically rank top 5 in baseball in every major offensive category against left-handed pitching, so I think this team scores 5 runs tonight. They could even get to the 8 all by themselves, but I think if you focus on the White Sox team total, that's probably the way to go.
Eric, talk to me about a game total.
I'm seeing some runs coming in the Cubs-Phillies game. Over-under set at just 9.5. We're not dealing with two great lineups here, although they will be helped quite a lot by playing at one of the more hitter-friendly parks in the league in Philadelphia. And I don't really trust either of the pitchers here. Adrian Sampson for the Cubs has a 2.20 ERA, but it's in a very small sample of innings, a 5.86 FIP on the season. He just doesn't really strike guys out, 18.8% strikeout rate. Doesn't walk guys either, just a 4.3% walk rate. But at most, that kind of profile adds up to a back-end starter type. He's also coming off a year which he spent in Korea and wasn't close to good over there, a 5.40 ERA as a Lotte Giant. So not really a lot of reason to believe that he figured things out and is actually anywhere close to that 2.20 ERA that he's shown in a small sample this season. Kyle Gibson, on the other hand, had a good start to the season, but since he's moved to Philadelphia, has a very mediocre 4.60 ERA. He's striking out just 15.3% of opposing batters. So I'm expecting a lot of contact in this game, and in a park like the one in Philadelphia, a lot of that contact could clear the fence.
All right, Nick, game total, talk to me.
Yeah, usually I like to back the Reds offense to do something, but they haven't been hitting left-handed pitching well recently, and the Pirates haven't been either. And actually, recently, the entire season, neither of these two teams have done well against left-handed pitching. The Pirates are in the bottom of the barrel, bottom 2 in OPS, ISO, WOBA, and WRC plus against left-handed pitching this season. The Reds are bottom 6 in all those categories. So I'm going to go with the under on this one at 8.5 because, Wade Miley has been doing really well this season. Of course, in his last 10 starts, he's had 3 not good starts, and then he's had 7 where he's pretty much been lights out. So I would think he's going to go and hold the Pirates down. And then you look at Dylan Peters, and I understand not a name that everybody recognizes quite as much, but he has been solid so far this season for the Pirates. And you look at the bullpen, how they've performed behind him too. All of those games, the bullpen has pretty much has backed him comfortably. So you got two teams that don't hit left-handed pitching well, both facing lefties tonight. There's no way they're going to score 9 runs or more in this one.
To the hot corner we go. Let's round third base here. An enticing player prop that catches your eye, Eric.
Yeah, I'm going to stick on that same game that I've just been talking about. I like Kyle Gibson to hit the under 5.5 strikeouts. He hasn't hit 5.5 strikeouts in the second half so far. That's 10 starts. He's only hit 5 strikeouts in 3 of them. He's averaging 3.7 strikeouts per appearance since the All-Star break. And yes, he is facing a Cubs team that strikes out more than anybody else. They're the highest strikeout rate in the league. And if you zoom into just the second half, they're the highest by 3 percentage points, all the way up at 29.5%. If this was set at 4.5, I would be much more likely to take the over because, again, he has hit 5 strikeouts sometimes. But Kyle Gibson, he's just not a strikeout guy. 14.5% strikeout rate since the break. I think even if the Cubs strike out against everybody, I think Gibson getting 6 strikeouts just doesn't really happen this season.
All right, Nick.
I'm going to go with Freddie Peralta hitting the over on his strikeout prop tonight. He's also set at 5.5. And I know since he's come back from the IL, he's had a couple not so great starts. Last one was better than the first one up against the Cardinals that first time around. But he's going against the Tigers tonight. And at some point, this guy's got to get back on track. He has a 33.7 K rate, 14% swinging strike rate. And the Tigers are the second worst team in terms of K rate against right-handed pitching this season. They're not good at home either in that regard either. And over the last month, they're one of the 5 worst in terms of K rate versus right-handed pitching. So if there's a time where Peralta's going to get it together, it's going to be tonight against the Tigers.
Gary, which player prop on tonight's slate is enticing to you?
Guys, I don't normally do this. Usually I'm pretty low-key, but my lock.
Oh! Props! We love props.
Yeah.
Great. My lock of the slate at plus money, too. Lucas Giolito to go under 7.5 strikeouts. Even if you look at this in a vacuum, Giolito has failed to reach this prop in 5 of his last 8 starts. He's coming off the IL. Yes, he's facing an Angels lineup that is among the league leaders in strikeouts so far in September. But if you've been paying attention to what the White Sox have been doing lately, they're on cruise control. They've basically been the American League version of the Dodgers, or at least the Dodgers of the past half decade. They essentially took every starter they had and put them on the IL to just be like, hey, take a week off. And if it was any indication how we saw them utilize their pitchers against the Red Sox, I don't think Giolito's throwing more than 5 innings in this game. Lance Lynn, 5 innings, 70 pitches. Carlos Rodon, 5 innings, 86 pitches. I think Lucas Giolito is set in stone, no matter how well he's pitching, for 5 innings tonight. And I don't think he gets to 8 strikeouts.
All right, take us home, Nick. Which odds boost on the DK Sportsbook do you like the most?
So I had to wrestle with this a little bit. I know there's 4 options tonight, but I ended up landing on Bryce Harper to record 2+ RBIs. He's homered in 6 of his last 8 games, and I know he's only gotten 2+ RBIs twice in that span, but he's putting himself in a position to drive and runs. He just needs guys to get on, and that can happen against Samson tonight, who I actually found out was only born 4 days before me, weirdly, when I was looking up his stats. But anyways, when you look at Bryce Harper's numbers, I know that Garion brought up how well Yasmani Grandal has done against right-handed pitching over the past month or so. No one's been better than Bryce Harper. Grandal's the only guy who's been in his stratosphere. So tonight, Harper's going to drive in at least 2 runs. All
right, Garion, odds boost that you are loving.
Yeah, so the White Sox one's obviously pretty intriguing, but I'll actually go with the Giants-Padres game, plus 295 for there to be a triple. And I think the only thing that really needs to be said here is Jake Arrieta is pitching for the Padres. His last 6 starts, opponents are hitting .420 with a .499 WOBA off of Jake Arrieta. We're in one of the best triples parks in all of baseball. I know triples are actually this season more rare than they've ever been in the past, but I will bite on this one tonight. I think Arrieta and his presence gets us a triple.
All right, Eric, talk to me.
Yeah, I'm sticking in Philadelphia where I've been for most of this segment and joining Nick on that Bryce Harper 2 or more RBIs. Set at plus 400, which means you need it to happen 20% of the time for those to be even odds. If you look over his last 18 games, he's done it 7 times. That's 39% of the time. He does only have 72 RBI on the season, which is low considering how dominant he's been all year. The Phillies just insist on batting guys like Odubel Herrera in front of him, who just aren't good enough to hit in front of the likes of Bryce Harper. But again, he's been hitting so hot lately that he's been driving in whoever happens to get on, and has finally been getting a few RBIs recently. Talked about Adrian Sampson earlier. He is definitely quite a friendly matchup for anybody, let alone one of the best left-handed bats in the league at one of the best hitter-friendly parks in the league. So I think 2+ RBIs should happen more than 20% of the time tonight.
Gentlemen, really, really good stuff. That's all for baseball today. We're going to dip our toes into some PGA Tour chatter with our gorgeous golf gurus when this show returns.
But first, you all know our guy Ross Tucker, right?
Him.
Okay, so on today's Ross Tucker football podcast, Ross goes through his power rankings for all 32 teams heading into week 2. Here he starts with last night's Monday Night Football losers, the Baltimore Ravens.
Number 11, the Baltimore Ravens.
So the Ravens dropped 5 spots. I guess the concerning thing for me for the Ravens was that they ended up giving up that many points to the Raiders. The offense is about what I thought it would be, which is the O-line's not as good as it has been. Lamar Jackson is always going to be hot and cold as a passer, but do some amazing things. The turnovers are what cost them that game. But I'm a little disappointed in the defense. I think no Marcus Peters hurts them, and I think the Raiders had a really good plan for them. I give them credit.
Number 10, the Arizona Cardinals.
So I moved the Cardinals up ahead of the Chargers because that was such an impressive performance. That's why the Chargers dropped the spot, is because I moved the Cardinals up that far, but they deserved it. They won the battle up front, both sides of the ball. Kyler Murray was awesome. We know about what Chandler Jones did. So I felt like they deserved it.
Number 9, the 49ers.
The Niners only moved up 1 spot because, they beat the Lions. They really moved up 1 spot because, the Ravens moved down, the Packers moved down. But it wasn't a game in which I saw enough from the Niners to think, they should move way up. Not if you let the Lions come back like that. Raheem Mostert's out 8 weeks with torn cartilage in his knee. They always have other good running backs like Emery's guy from Louisiana, Elijah Mitchell. Emery on the College Draft podcast, which we'll do this morning, by the way. Couldn't do it yesterday because of Brian's travel. So And by the way, Emery, if you're so inclined, was 4 for 4 on his college football bets last week. So make sure you listen to the College Draft Podcast if you want that free money that we hand out here. But so they have other good running backs, and they'll be fine. But they lose both Mostert and Jason Verrett, who's their best corner. Not good.
Number 8, the Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills. So I had to drop them below the Steelers, but I'm not getting that carried away. I think the Steelers have a really good defense, and I think, the blocked punt killed them. I'm not going overboard. I had the Bills number 3, and I predicted a lot of places they'd go to the Super Bowl for a reason. So I'm not getting too carried away with a loss to a Steelers team that I have said forever is going to be better than other people think.
Number 7 is the Steelers. Anything else you want to add?
Well, just that, to me, they look a lot like they did last year. And I guess you can take that as a positive or a negative. Can't run the ball real well. Passing game's not all that explosive, but really good defense. And when they get to play on special teams as well, they're probably going to win.
Number 6, the New Orleans Saints.
What a wild 48 hours it was for Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know if his agent was negotiating it during the game or what, but they announced after the game that Marshawn Lattimore gets a huge extension, makes him the second highest paid corner in the NFL. That's the good news. The bad news is he had to have thumb surgery. Came back in the game against the Packers after hurting his thumb, but then after the game, they're like, yeah, we got to get that fixed. I don't know what he had, a bone chip or what, but Marshawn ends up getting thumb surgery. Tell you what, makes it a lot easier to get thumb surgery after you just got like $80 million guaranteed or whatever it is that he got. Good for you, Marshawn. He was a U.S. Army Bowl guy back in the day. That was an extremely impressive performance by the Saints. I moved them up 8 spots, and the way they played up front, you guys know how much that matters to me. They are certainly on my radar screen to be moving up even more based on how they played in week 1 against the Packers.
You guys can find out who's in Ross's top 5 by checking out the full episode of Ross's podcast today on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever else you get your podcasts.
Cool. Speaking of football, let's get down to business now with our golf gurus. DraftKings contributors, Reed T. Fowler and Jeff Ulrich. Fellas, we are taking a sportsbook look at the PGA Tour's first official event of the 2021-2022 season, even though last season ended like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's really
It's
amazing.
the Fortinet Championship. Do not call it the
Fortnite
Championship.
Championship.
No lack of star power in this field. In fact, world numero uno, John Rahm, will be teeing it up from Napa, California for this one. Naturally, he's the favorite at plus 350. Sweet Tea, what concerns do you have, though, about how seriously Rahm will take this first event of the season?
Emerson, as seriously as you felt in that hot air balloon about 3 or 4 years ago.
That was
in
terrible.
Look, plus 350 pre-tournament is a fool's errand. Even if it's the world number 1 guy, right? Like he's using this, I'm sure, to prepare to get the rust off, if any, for the Ryder Cup next week. So look, he is not arguably, he is the best person in this field. He's the best person in the world. Absolutely, but plus 350, that's a fool's errand. This is 156 guys in the field. His mind is for next week. I wouldn't be touching this with a 30-foot pole. I wouldn't go, like you said, you're not going in that hot air balloon ever again. I'm never betting someone at plus 350.
Never go in a basket underneath someone's just like flying fire tent.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't
It was
do that.
frightening
Definitely
stuff.
wouldn't do that.
It's beautiful, though.
It was beautiful.
Not
Jeff,
worth it. Continue.
Is it frightening to chase John Rahm at these odds? Like is Reed right here? He's probably looking past this week to next week.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't even care what look, John Rahm could win this tournament, absolutely, but there's not a chance. I mean these are like Tiger Woods prime odds we're getting on John. I don't even remember last time I saw. Look, I do this. Reed and I do this every week. I don't remember the last time I saw a guy under like plus 600 to win outright in an actual PGA Tour event. So this is pretty insane. The way you have to approach this week is you should be happy John Rahm's in the field, because if he wasn't in the field, Webb Simpson would be like plus 800. Guys like Cameron Champ would be like plus 2,500. Cameron Champ's plus 4,500. Are you taking a little bit of a risk going down the field and taking some long shots because the shadow of John Rahm is out there and he could just come and dominate this event? Yes, but we're getting so much better odds on the rest of the field because Rahm is here. So I look at it as a kind of a blessing. I'm glad he's here. I'm not going to bet him because these odds are crazy for an outright. But I really do think it creates an opportunity just with other players in the field.
All right, the young buck, Will Zalatoris, will be making his first start as an official PGA Tour member after that seriously impressive 2020-2021 campaign. So he's plus 2,200 to win. Jeff, we haven't seen this guy since the Wyndham Championship over a month ago. So do you think Zalatoris is worth taking a shot on this week?
Yeah, and this is I think this is a very good starting point. I mean, again, if you're going off John Rahm, you're looking, okay, who else from the top players I can look to? I think Zalatoris is right where I would land. I mean, Kevin Na's been playing great, but do you really want to trust a guy who sprays it so much off the tee on a longer course like Kevin Na? No, I mean, you want a guy who hits it arrow straight like Zalatoris has a little bit more length and can really get hot with his approaches. I trust him a little bit more than Hideki Matsuyama to show up with the putter as well. Zalatoris had a little bit of an injury issue at the Open Championship, but then he played well in his last two starts. And I mean, look, this is a guy who he's finally got the tour card. There's no more special exemptions or status. He's just there. He's on the tour, fresh start. I think he goes after a win really soon here because we know what his upside is from last year's Masters. So I think this is a fine odds, and I think these are really fair odds on Zalatoris. It's a good starting point.
All right, what do we think, Reed?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a popular play on the DFS side and especially an outright. Right, everyone loves Zalatoris. There was a lot of talk he's Rookie of the Year. A lot of talk that he should have been, barring the actual rules of the FedEx Cup playoffs, that he should have been in because I think he would have started in 13th place if he actually had his tour card. But now it's a full season, like Jeff mentioned. The only thing I'm worried about is because of that sentiment, there's other guys around there that I think are more fairly priced, even though Zalatoris is fine. The putter does scare me a little bit, Jeff, with Zalatoris. We've seen him get a little shaky with that. You're going to need a good putter this week. And that's why Charlie Hoffman at plus 3,000 is someone that I'm a little bit more inclined to go to as opposed to that. Having said that, the Safeway Open and all of these fall series, the fall swing tournaments are ones that we've seen a Cam Champ and these other guys break through. Zalatoris has already broken through, but he still needs that first win. It could definitely come here, but I do like Hoffman a little bit better at a little bit deeper odds.
Well, Reed, there are plenty of recognizable names also teeing it up in their home state this week. Cam Champ, plus 4,500, Max Homa, plus 5,500, Maverick McNeely, plus 6,000. Those are just a few there. Which one of these Cali bros do you like?
I'm going Maverick McNeely. He went to school at Stanford, and so he, California, up there in Northern California. He knows the area, and you take a look at what Mav McNeely has done over the last 24 rounds. He's actually hitting the ball off the tee fairly well. He's 7th in driving distance at this or in this field, 35th in off the tee, 25th in those par fours that are between 400 and 450 yards. So all the metrics do lay out for a guy like Matt McNeely, and he's been around. You kind of like him on these shorter par 72s. That's usually where he can perform. You've seen him do it. Maybe you like him a little bit more on coastal courses, but at the same time, this guy does well in California. He should feel comfortable in this area. So give me Matt.
Okay, Jeff, how about you?
I mean, quite frankly, I like all these guys. I mean, like I said, this is kind of the range that I want to attack this week in the outright betting. I mean, it's a great point to bring up all these California native guys because the West Coast swing, it's so unique on the PGA Tour. We get unique greens, and it's always the same guys playing well. And all three of these players have good West Coast records. Homa's got to win out here. Champ's got to win at this very course. And then you've got McNeely, who finished runner-up at Pebble Beach. Reed already went over his resume. I like McNeely the most, mainly because you're getting the best odds on him and because he finished very strong as well. So he'd be my top play of the three, but I think you're getting really good odds on Cam Champ here. Cam Champ, all he does is just win these type of false swings, these weaker field events. He blasts it off the tee. He's definitely got the most upside of those three California guys. I think at plus 4,500. Again, I'm a little surprised you're getting these odds. I mean, Cameron Champ won a month and a half ago. He's in pretty good form. So these are really good odds you're getting on Champ. But
Is that us?
Oh.
No. Reed, are you still there?
Oh, I'm still here. I thought that was me.
Oh.
No. God,
Reed.
no. Don't panic.
Jeff.
Don't freak out. You look good.
That never happens to Jeff. Maybe it's Zoom. I don't know.
Maybe he's also using a hospital's Wi-Fi next door like Kenny.
He's not. Reed, we'll go back to you. Who's a long shot that you maybe have your eye on this week?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple since Jeff is not here. The first guy that I do like is Hudson Swafford. He's at plus 13,000 on DK Sportsbook. I think his top 10 number is also fairly nice at plus 1,100. Look, this guy, all he did in the FedEx Cup playoffs was rank like number 1 and number 2 in approach at some difficult courses like the Northern Trust. And now he comes in at plus 13,000 odds. He finished top 20 in 2 of those FedEx Cup playoff wins. And so what you want to do, especially when you're looking at this tournament, is see how these guys finished in the FedEx Cup, how they played. Past performance or current form isn't necessarily a prerequisite to future success, especially at this tournament. But Hudson Swafford is definitely someone that I like. And then Brandon Hagee, guys, at plus 20,000. He's also someone that I do like. He missed his last few cuts, and so that's why his number is all the way down here. But this guy got a runner-up at the Honda Classic out in Emerson's neck of the woods down there in Florida. That's a tough course against a tough field. 18th at the John Deere Classic, not as tough of a field, but more recent. And he's had these spot finishes where he's done extremely well. He has that upside, a guy like Brandon Hagee, to get up there, in this course and score low. And that's what you want. You want to see these guys that can score low, that can get into that minus 18, minus 19 range, because we've seen 5 of the last 7 winners be 3 or 4 strokes back around there, or like 1 back of the lead on Thursday, and come back and win this thing. So those are the 2 guys that I like deeper in the odds.
All right, Fowler. Slate approved pick. In fact, breaking news, Jeff Ulrich is back. Jeff Ulrich is back.
Okay, Jeff, let's hit you then. Who's a long shot that you have your eye on this week?
Oh, no. I think he froze again.
Oh, God.
I think I might know actually who his long shot is. It's probably Nick Taylor.
Really?
Okay. Well,
I think he likes Nick Taylor. I think I saw on Twitter that he posted a Nick Taylor tweet, a fellow Canadian. I think he's at plus 15,000. That'd be my guess for a long shot. But look, I think what Jeff was potentially going to mention is, diversify your card with these longer shots because of the field. All of that all of that win equity is getting soaked up by a guy like John Rahm. So we're getting favorable odds, especially from these guys down low, where the delta between Rahm and these guys is huge. And so diversify your card a little bit more this week with some guys that have longer odds.
All right, man. Bring us home then with your slate approved pick. So who do you think is going to be walking away with the trophy in the first PGA Tour event of the season?
I'm going Seabass. Seabass over there, that guy, Sebastian Munoz is who I like at plus 4,500. This guy is great off the tee. He's top 3rd in driving distance and fairways gained. The approach is fantastic. 5th in opportunities gained, Emerson and Jessie. 15th in birdies or better gain. This guy is absolutely a stud with his irons at plus 4,500. We saw him win in the fall series at the Sanderson Farms. I think he gets another one here. Sebastian Munoz. And I do think we may have Jeff back, but I don't know.
No, we're not doing.
No, he would have taken.
All right, Jeff. Jeff,
Who
give
knows?
us your slate approved pick, and you better hurry.
This could be my last time just speaking to you guys. Who knows what the internet's going to do? I like Maverick McNeely at 8,600. Definitely my favorite choice there on the DraftKings Sportsbook at plus 600. I think you're getting a little bit inflated odds. Love him as a DFS play too. Just that juicy mid-range. You don't really have to pay up for too much. So Maverick McNeely going to be my top play this week. Again, I think it's going to be a wide open field. We got the West Coast swing and John Rahm, hopefully just here for a little bit of practice.
All right, well, at least it's good to know that if something comes for our internet, it's going to hit the Canadians first. So we'll have a fair warning. Thank you, Jeff, for your service. An NFL edition of Too High or Too Low is coming up next. That's going to be our final block of the show, so make sure you stay tuned.
Final block of the show, everybody. Live, laugh, love. Let's get after it with our new look NFL panel, consisting of DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow and RotoWire's AJ Scholes.
Guys, it's NFL high or low. Emerson is having a tough time reading today.
I am.
So are the following spreads for week 2 too high or too low? So let's start with the Thursday night game between New York and Washington. The football team is favored by 3 points at home. They're going to be without the man who started week 1 for them. Ryan Fitzpatrick, of course, went down with a hip injury. Taylor Heineke will take over under center. So is 3 points too high or too low for Washington to be favored by? Julian, talk to me.
Yeah, I think this is actually too low. And I know, a starting quarterback gets knocked out, a home favorite loses week 1. This spread is going to shrink. That makes sense. But the look-ahead line here on Sunday before the games got underway was Washington minus 5.5. And let's remember what we saw from the Giants at home in week 1. That Denver defense did exactly what we thought it was going to do to that New York offensive line. And that was make it very difficult for them to score. They got 13 points, and that was kind of almost backdoored. So now you're telling me that the Giants have to go on the road on a short week in a divisional game here. This is almost a pure Giants fate. I think that front with Chase Young is going to get a lot of pressure on Daniel Jones, who was nothing special once again at home on Sunday. And the drop-off from Fitzmagic to Taylor Heineke isn't as bad as it's kind of being perceived. Heineke had a solid little game in the playoffs in the wild card round against Tom Brady and that vicious Bucks defense. He's putting up decent numbers in the past in very limited opportunities, but I think at home on a short week, I will go ahead and lay the 3 here with the football team.
Dang, AJ, are you following suit?
Absolutely. I mean, when you consider the Broncos put up the 4th most rushing yards in week 1 against the Giants, I'm not sure the concern for me is really going to be who's under center, right? Washington being favored by a field goal, give or take, feels about right for me. As Julian said, if Fitz was healthy, I would have expected to see this line closer to, say, 5 or 6. As long as Antonio Gibson, who is a little banged up, as long as he's healthy and available, Washington should be able to get past the Giants here. And I think 3 is about a good mark for that.
All right, dudes. AJ, the Texans shocking everyone in the entire planet with how they played against the Jags in week 1. Tyrod Taylor leading the way as that Texans offense put up 37 points in Houston. Now they get a real test, though, against a real team, a Browns team that just went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. Cleveland is favored by 12.5 points. That's the largest spread on the main slate. Is that too high or too low?
Well, I'll start by saying I'll admit I was completely caught off guard by this result. I was jumping on Houston all last week. Tyrod Taylor was definitely impressive. He used his legs to pick up 40 yards on the ground. But even with that, it just feels like this is way too high to me right now, right? The Browns certainly looked good. Nick Chubb didn't have any big runs, but, he averaged 5.5 yards per carry, caught both of his targets, got into the end zone twice. But 12.5 is just way too high here for me. I would probably need it to drop down under 10 to really consider taking the Browns to cover here.
Hey, Jules, Houston 6-0 against the spread in their last 6 games against Cleveland.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is. It's a fact.
I won't be taking it into account. Emerson, I'm sorry that you were so caught off guard that a 1-win team with a rookie quarterback and rookie head coach got favored on the road in week 1.
Yeah, I was hammering that, bro.
Imagine that. This is a tough one. I can't bet this at 12.5, but I think that the number is too low. The Browns are coming off a loss. The Texans are coming off a win. They're going on the road now to Cleveland. I think this one opened 11.5, and we had DK Sportsbook's own Johnny Avello on the Unreasonable Odds podcast on Monday, which you can check out on Twitter. And he said that he thinks this one's going up. This is going to 13. This is going to 14 throughout the course of the week. Do the Browns win it by 2 touchdowns? I don't know. These ones are always tough to bet. They'll be up 14 late in the game. Did the Texans get the late touchdown? Did they fall short? It's not something I want to bet on, but like for teasers to get this one to the 6.5 range and get this to under 7, I think you could do that with Cleveland. If you really want to go steep on a money line parlay, the Browns aren't losing this game. So I won't bet this one, but I think that this one is too low for the spread.
All right, tight on time. Let's pick this up a little bit. Julian, the Eagles were another team with low expectations that impressed in week 1, dismantling the Falcons 32-6. Now they get the Niners, who handled the Lions despite a surprisingly tight ending to that game. So San Fran is favored by 3.5 on Sunday. Too high or too low?
So this one I think is too high. We're on San Francisco. This one's just about right. This is 3 to 4 area. I thought we were doing Minnesota, Arizona. I thought it would be 3 to 4. They put it 3.5. It's perfect. We're short on time. That's all I got.
All right, AJ, too high, too low, just right?
I think it's about right. You know, even with the news that Raheem Mostert's going to be out long term, Elijah Mitchell stepped up big time, 3rd most rushing yards in week 1 with 104. Jalen Hurts put together a fantastic week 1 performance. So a coin toss right about that 3 mark feels good to me.
This one stood out after both of these teams in their week 1 performances. So you had the Cardinals taking the Titans to the woodshed last Sunday, the Vikings falling to the Bengals in overtime, Arizona favored by 4.5 at home on Sunday. Too high or too low, Jules?
Okay, this one is too high. This is a classic week 1 overreaction. Cardinals blow out a good team in the Titans on the road. Minnesota loses to a perceived bad Bengals team that is going to beat the Bears in week 2. The Bengals are going to be 2-0. This one was 2.5. It's all the way to 4.5. Again, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to bet it, but if you made me bet this game, it is absolutely Minnesota plus 4.5 because they underperformed week 1 by a significant margin. The Cardinals overperformed in week 1 by a significant margin. Generally, these things tend to even out in week 2.
All right, AJ, do you agree? Is this more of an overreaction?
I mean, I actually think it could go a little higher here in favor of the Cards. Look, the defense allowed just 162 yards through the air this last week. That's the 4th fewest in the league. They got 6 sacks in that game, and Kirk Cousins isn't exactly the most mobile QB in the world. I was also surprised Cousins got so many attempts when you have a back like Dalvin Cook, who got 20 carries for his part. I do think the Cards could see this line move in their favor. I think it's too low.
All right, under 2 minutes. AJ, let's go with the Sunday night matchup between the Chiefs and Ravens. KC took care of business against the Browns in week 1 thanks to the usual cast of characters in Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey. Baltimore lost a wild one to the Raiders on Monday Night Football. Chiefs are favored on the road by 4 points. Too high or too low?
Definitely too low. Baltimore's leading rusher in week 1 was Lamar Jackson in terms of both yards at 86 and attempts at 12. That's a big concern for me. He fumbled 3 times, got sacked 3 times. There's just not enough offense on the Ravens side. I think this needs to move big time the other way.
Jules.
Yeah, Baltimore doesn't have the bodies right now, and we saw that on Monday Night Football, losing to, not the best Raiders team. The Raiders made a lot of mistakes and somehow won that game. So, yeah, this one's already been moving. Like, it opened at 1. The look ahead on Monday morning was 2.5. Now it's at 4. It's going to keep going. Just suck it up and bet the Chiefs if you're going to do it.
All right, guys. Great job. That's it. That is a show, everybody.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. I just texted you, by the way. The slate at 5 o'clock with Coffin, Bukes, and Thorne. So be prepared for that. They're going to talk a lot about the Major League Baseball slate tonight. Again, 12 games on that slate.
And we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Okay.
Or I will. You're not going to be here.